Hey, what's up guys, it's BenBonk and welcome back to the 9th Slimekeep Devlog. So it's been almost 3 weeks since the last Slimekeep Devlog and I really apologize about that. I think it's been a combination of a few things. One being the GMTK Game Jam kind of interrupting my work schedule. The second being me kind of getting addicted to a bunch of video games, and I've been playing a lot more video games than usual. I finally beat this stupid dragon, and I beat him again. And I beat him again, and yeah, I'm just kind of addicted to Enter the Gungeon. I also feel like I'm been getting a lot more off task and distracted from working on Slimekeep recently, but I still have got some really cool things done, and so let's get into the devlog. So the first issue I decided to tackle was perspective, and this is something that I probably didn't need to really tackle, and I probably could have held off making a new tile set and a bunch of new art, but I guess I just couldn't stand to look at this ugly tile set that was hacked together in just a few minutes for a game jam. So as you can see, I took my time creating this kind of grassy looking tile set. I was pretty happy at it first, but originally it had a bunch of perspective problems still, as it looked kind of like a platformer tile set instead of a top-down tile set. So I made some more adjustments with some feedback from my Discord server, and eventually I had something looking like this. I made a ton of different versions of the tile sets, just getting them a bit better each time, and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. The one I kind of settled on is this middle one you see right now, but I also worked on some other forms you can see right here that I can probably use to enhance the environment. So the next set, I'm putting this tile set into Unity, and I think it looks so much better overall than the last tile set. The perspective issue is definitely much more better overall, and I think the tile set just looks so much more detailed and clean. Still could probably use a bit of work, but I'm just really happy with how this turned out. Though I quickly realized I was still missing a lot of art necessary for a tile set, like a bunch of corners and just cutoffs and stuff like that, and so I hopped back into Sprite and worked on a bunch more art for the game, just making those corner pieces and all this necessary art for a tile set. And here's what this looked like, definitely some needed additions. Next up, I started working on an actually pretty big issue for the game, and this was that my player's collider was actually on his whole entire body instead of just his feet. So basically he would run into like houses. It's kind of hard to explain, but for the perspective, he can't really just like look over houses and be in front of them. And so I kind of fixed this up, and now my player can kind of look like he's actually on top of things, but he still has a hurt collider, so he can still take damage in his whole entire body. But getting back to the tile set, I actually imported the rest of the tile set into Unity, and now see that it's in, and I kind of adjusted this kind of main scene. I'm not gonna have the shop in the main scene or anything like that, but I just had it here for testing purposes. But a quick break from the devlog, I wanted to congratulate the winners of my new devlog art contest. Pretty much each devlog, I will showcase the 3 of the best art pieces made in my Discord, so if you want to join the Discord, go ahead. First up, we have this amazing boss battle concept art that looks absolutely amazing and super vibrant. We also have this currency change gif, which is really clean and also a really cool concept with a really nice dithering. And finally, this Slimekeep logo that looks really clean also, and some nice concept art for the regular slimes. Unfortunately, I can't tell I made these pieces of art as my Discord got kind of goofed recently, but congratulations to the winners for this amazing art, and please leave a comment saying if you did make any of these pieces, and I will make sure to congratulate you. With all that done, I decided to start working on an idea or concept for a core mechanic in the game. This mechanic would hopefully be a differentiator for my game and make it stand out from other games and roguelikes. I really should have started working on this mechanic right at the start of development, but as you can tell, I got really off task with polish and other unnecessary things, but here's the mechanic I had in mind. Pretty much, the player would have a secondary default gun called a capture gun, and you could hold on this gun to fire out this kind of thing, which would suction slimes towards the capture gun. And then when the slimes reach the capture gun, they will become captured and appear in a bottom left UI. Then my player could press another button to unleash the slime on a leash, and it would become friendly and it could attack other enemy slimes. But if I were to go through with this system, I realized it would be a major problem. Pretty much my old weapon swapping script would only work with 2 weapons, your default pistol and a secondary weapon of your choosing. So if I wanted to make the capture gun, I would have to rework my whole entire weapon swapping, dropping, buying, and picking up systems. So that's exactly what I spent my next few days working on. For the old way of weapon swapping, I used an array with 2 slots, but if I'm not wrong, you cannot change the size of an array once it has been created in script. So I couldn't just have an extra capture gun, because then I wouldn't have a slot for another secondary weapon or weapon of your choosing. And this would also just mess up the way I coded the weapon swapping in the first place. So instead of trying to mess around with arrays more, I turned my array into a list. And the thing with lists is they're basically an array from what I can tell, but you can instead add and change their size of them, which is much better fit for a weapon inventory system. So with this idea of turning my weapon inventory into a list, I started working on actually getting it functioning just for weapon swapping, weapon buying, and a lot of re-engineering of code. my task at hand quickly turned from getting a capture gun working to getting a new weapon inventory system working, and so it could be much more scalable. I spent quite a lot of time on this because it's more than just weapon swapping, but as I said before, also weapon dropping, weapon picking up, all that stuff. So kind of a pain to rewrite a bunch of this code, as it was pretty bad. But still it's probably pretty bad because frankly I don't know how to code. But after quite a few hours of programming and testing, I had something looking like this. I could buy a bunch of weapons, they go into my inventory and increase the size of the list. I could easily cycle through them. This was really nice, and I felt really good about this because it's something I really wanted to work on. I finally got it working, but there's still a lot of problems with like the secondary weapons, UI, and a few small things that are not really noticeable. But yeah, it was a great start. So as you can see, my list size starts out at 1, but when I buy a weapon, it'll go down to 2, and then I can buy another weapon, it'll increase, and I can pretty much scale this to however many weapons I want. I can have a limit on this, of course, but I could potentially have thousands of weapons with this system. Then I had to work on a bit more code for the weapon dropping system, so I could shoot a weapon, I could drop it on the ground, and then it would go back to the end of the list whenever I pick it up, into the end of your inventory, which is another simple change, but pretty cool and very important. But now I could start working on the capture gun, and thankfully a guy on my Discord server named Paperboy made this old machine gun concept, and I kind of transformed it into the art for this capture gun. Now I could actually start working on the brains for the capture gun, and the plan was to have kind of a sprite mask that would hide parts of the kind of like ray or suction area, I guess you could call it, and when you hold it down, the suction area will go out, but when you let go, it'll go back towards the capture gun and kind of like fall down. And so you kind of have to hold it down to make sure you can like have the biggest suction in area to suction in the slimes. After quite a bit of problem solving, I actually had a system kind of working, so I could hold down the mouse button while I'm on the capture gun, and it will increase this kind of capture area or suction area. And I can also let it go and it will fall down. And I also made sure to clamp it so it will not extend anymore or go too far or go too negative. And so yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I had kind of like the core foundation of this worked out. Then I got this kind of suction area hooked up to my capture gun, and it was looking pretty good. There's still a bunch of small glitches kind of still in it, but I think I had the basics down. Then after some more work, I fixed up a few of the glitches and just things like making it so you can't reload or won't shoot bullets, simple things like that. And I also started working on a collider system. I got a collider kind of scaling with my suction zone. I did this by making a kind of pivot point so it can only scale on one point, which is a pretty cool tip in Unity. And I got it scaling so it'll actually scale along with my suction zone, and it looks pretty good. And so now I just need to get the collider set up, but that was that. Now I had to find a way to get my slimes become suctioned when they enter the kind of suction area, and somehow send that data over to my player to be used in a few other ways. This wasn't too difficult. There were still a few problems I had along the way, and it's still the system to this day is still a kind of glitchy, but pretty much all I did is whenever the slime enters the trigger area, he will just constantly start to move towards the capture gun using vector3.move towards, and it's pretty simple, but yeah, I think it works. And at the end of all that, I had something looking like this. As you can see, I can go and capture slimes. I can only capture one slime at a time right now, that's what I've done. But yeah, it's kind of buggy system, but they will just get destroyed. No polish really yet, but still, it's just the start. But before I started working on the slime pet mechanic, I shared my ideas to my Discord server, and I got a lot of feedback, some positive and some negative. But this feedback was really nice because I realized a lot of flaws in my old system in regards to balancing workload and scalability. So I started to rethink my old idea, but in mind I knew I wanted 3 things. First one being some kind of slime capturing mechanic, as I already made, some form of slime pet or companion, and then also have these pets or companions fight alongside you and can possibly get more powerful as the game progresses. After many hours of brainstorming, I finally thought I came up with a good idea, and something that I think my Discord server also liked, and that I also thought was much more easier to implement, much more scalable, and much more overall just a better idea for the game. So here is that idea. The player will basically start off with a unique slime that looks different from every other slime in the game as your pet. And this pet will follow you around wherever you go, kind of like an Enter the Gungeon pet. But whenever you capture a slime, depending on what kind of slime it is, you'll get a different stat upgrade that will go towards feeding your pet. For example, the smallest form of the regular slime could give 1+ attack stat, and the largest form could give +5 attack stat. And slimes like the ninja could give attack speed possibly, and the projectile slimes could give attack range possibly. The point is you can capture slimes that will give stat upgrades to your pet and make him more powerful. And finally, this pet will attack kind of in with a range of the player and jolt out on enemies like it's on an invisible leash. So I started off working on this system by making a pet that will just follow the player around. It's just placeholder art for now, but I was planning to change that later. And all he'll do is just follow the player around, but if he gets to within a certain range, he will stop towards the player and not move. That's just a nice little touch. But yeah, very simple to implement, just a simple AI path, but I got that part working. Now that my pet can move around, I wanted to start working on the attacking behind him and get him so he could actually attack other enemy slimes. This is probably the functionality that took the longest to implement for my pet slime, but pretty much what I did is I had a circle slider that would be a trigger around the pet, and this would be kind of like his attack range, and whenever an enemy slime enters that attack range, it will send that data over to an attack function, and my pet slime will stop following the player and then instead leash out towards an enemy, and he will be able to hurt enemies and a bunch of other small stuff. After many scrapped functions and a lot of work, here's what my attack system looks like so far. My pet couldn't actually deal damage to enemies yet, but he could attack them, and as you'll see, he kind of has this black dot that is like his rebound zone. So whenever he attacks an enemy, he will kind of like knock back from them, because it looked kind of strange when he used to attack them and then move right back to the player. So he kind of gets knocked back, which I think looks way more like clean and neat, like he's bouncing back towards the player sort of. Really nice addition, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And yeah, simple attacking and kind of knockback or rebound system was in place. Then I got the slime actually dealing damage, and as you can see, I think it looks pretty nice. It's just a simple attack. Right now he doesn't deal that much damage, but later on as he scales up, hopefully he can deal more damage. I also made some other small changes to the slime pet, like this multiplier, where if my slime pet gets far enough from my player, his speed will actually increase until he can catch up back to the player. But now I needed to work on stats, and the plan for this was to have a class inside of my enemy script where I could initialize a bunch of different values for attack stat, attack speed stat, and so on every single enemy prefab in the game. Then whenever I capture a pet, I can send that data back over to the pet script, and I can increase these stats there. I thought this was actually a pretty decent way about going about this, and sooner or later I could suction a slime towards my capture gun and it would actually update the stats inside of my slime pet script. Now I had my stats inside of my pet script, but now I had to find a way to use these stats to actually increase the attack amount of my slime pet and other things. I had two ways I could go about this. The first being I could have my pet's attack stat be directly correlated to attack damage. But this wouldn't work because that would just be ridiculously overpowered based off the way I'd set up damage and health, and require a massive rework of every piece of HP and damage dealing things in the game. I also just couldn't use floats or decimals for this. The next idea I had, and the idea I decided to go with, was to have a kind of level up amount, and whenever I get enough attack stat for a certain stat, it will level up that kind of stat and increase my damage and reset the stat, and then I'll also get a kind of level for that amount. And this would be much more scalable and much more kind of customizable, as I could choose how many points I want you to get before you can level up to the next attack stat. So then I got it working, and trust me, it's a pretty simple code. It might not be the most efficient, but I got it working, and it's a little hard to get footage, but trust me, it works. As I was playtesting around, I found a few issues with the capture gun and the slime pet, one being that sometimes I'll just be trying to capture slimes, but then my kind of pet will start attacking those slimes when I really don't want that to happen. And there's still a lot of glitches with the capture gun pet in general, but this is just one of them. So to fix this, I made this kind of attack mode kind of statement, and pretty much whenever you press Q, that's just a temporary button, it will switch the slime's attack mode off, so you can turn it on and off. I don't have any feedback for this right now, but as you can see, if I have it off, my pet will not attack any slimes. If I turn it back on, he will go back to attacking slimes. Very simple to implement, but just a nice touch. By now, I was kind of tired of working on all this programming stuff, so I decided to take a break and work on some art for the slime pet. And eventually, I got a bunch of concepts done. I spent about a few hours just working on and cranking out a ton of slime concepts, in which I shared to my Discord server. I ended up making 8 slime pet concepts, and the one that I decided to choose was number 6 because it's the one that got voted on the most in my Discord server, and it was also my favorite. So I spent some time in Sprite making some animations for this guy, and I worked on getting them actually implemented into Unity. It was kind of stressful because Unity's animator system is not always my friend, and there's a few things that I kind of messed up. It was really annoying, but eventually I got them working. So here's what my slime pet looks like right now. Definitely think he's missing a few things, maybe some particles, stuff. He's still definitely not polished at all. There's still definitely a lot of things I need to change him, but still, it's just the really basics of him. You can see he has attack animation, idle, moving, all that kind of good stuff. And he still definitely needs some work, no doubt about it. but I think he's just a really good start overall. And with that said, I was going to make another capture gun art and a bunch of other stuff, but I just felt like it's been so long since the devlog. I was just kind of tired of working on this for so long and not actually getting anything out there. That is going to be the end of this devlog, guys. I hope you guys did like the changes that I make. I spent so much time on this one. It's the longest time it's been without a devlog, but I hope you guys did like this video. I spent a lot of time editing for sure. So if you did like it, make sure to leave a like or possibly subscribe. That would really help me out. For like the 20% of people who make it this far, thank you for watching my videos, and if you want to join the Discord server, go ahead. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.